Hey everybody, Alex from SCADA Forge here. In this video, we'll give a high-level overview of database interactions in Ignition, and we'll dive more into this in the 104 course as well as the 301 and 302 courses. But this is more to show you that it exists and something you can dig into if it interests you. So in the world of perspective, binding to named queries is pretty popular. This allows you to, as we've talked about templates in UDTs, effectively build a templatized query that you can use to get data out of a database or write data to a database. If you're using transaction groups, this would also be something you might want to look into there, because that will allow you to write data to a database with a transaction group, and then you can use queries to pull that out. And there's a number of different ways we can do this. We'll talk about named queries first, and then we'll show another example here in a minute. So for named queries, there's a named queries section here in the project browser. We can simply right-click that and do new query. We'll leave the settings as default. We'll go to authoring. This pulls up a SQL query authoring tab. We can select our database connection. In this case, we'll use the default for the project, which is Rio Oso. We can pass parameters into the query, and then we can write the query down here. And on the right is a list of all of our table names in that database. And we can expand those and see all of our columns. So if I want to come over here and do select star from TG brewing, and I don't need any parameters for this, I can clear those out. I can execute this under the testing window, and that will pull all of the data out of the database for us here. If I want to utilize that in a view, I can create a new view. Call it query example. And this will be basic. We'll just do a table. And we'll make this a bit wider. And then I can go to my data property. I can bind that to a query and select query example. And hit OK. I gotta save that first. Once you edit a named query, you have to save. So that will run that query, and if we go into play mode, pull all that data across from that query. So that's pretty cool. We can also, let's set up a second table. Here. Oops. That was not what I thought I clicked. Table. Drag that over. Make this a little smaller. And I can add a button here. And I'll hit Control J to enter the scripting configuration. I'll add a script to onActionPerformed. Now we can call the named query here. We can also system.db.run. I like to use PrepQuery because that allows us to use parameters, which is better from a security perspective. So let's do select star from TG Brewing. I don't need any arguments, and I want the Rio Oso database. And let's set that equal to results. And then I want to take this second table, props data, and I want to set that equal to results. And I can hit OK. And I go to play mode, and when I click that button, it runs my query and pulls that in. And for more information on what we did there, we can go to the appendix, system functions, system.db, and runPrepQuery. And we can go to a code example, and that is effectively what we just did there. So we're basically running a query and setting the table data to that value. So that's also another example of how to use scripting in a project, and at least shows you a couple ways to interact with the database. If you're in the designer, you also have the database query browser. We can dock that to the bottom here. This will show you all of the tables in your selected database. If I go to, say, SCADA we have alarm data, Rio Oso. I can say double click on the table, and that populates the select everything from that already. I can hit execute. Here I can also come in here and edit data if I want to. Let's say I want to make, let's double click here. And then I can hit apply, and that will write that record to the database. I've also used this to alter tables, create tables, etc. Basically anything you can do with a SQL query, you can build that however you want and paste it into here or write it in here directly, and you're good to go from there. And then we'll see here we have the history tables and things with the SQL T in front of them. This one is our historical data table that we could pull out history data through a query if we want. But Ignition is pretty powerful in terms of database interaction, and that's how it originally got started. When it was first developed, was a simple way to get data from PLCs into databases. And again, we'll dive a lot more into this in future sections. So please let me know if you have any questions. Otherwise, thank you for watching and have a great day.